great. And finally, we're going to come to Marta now, who's going to offer some tips, I know, around impact storytelling. Marta, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm very happy to be here with you. So, in one of the previous talks, Sumi just made the point that we need to collectively get better at creating impact narratives. And I'm very grateful for that remark, as I hope to address this precise issue in my slot. Over the last 10 years, I have studied the genre of impact case study. For those of you who don't know, that's the document that many scholars write to evidence their impact. And I have studied it in 3 countries, UK, Norway, and Poland. And there's one key piece of advice that emerges out of this work, and that's don't forget about the dragon. But before I get there and discuss it in more detail, I wanted to ask you one question. Next slide, please. What are your plans for the evening? So many of you will be looking forward to unwinding with a good novel or a film or a TV show. I know I am. And I want you to think about that specific show or book that you want to read in the evening. You don't have to share just now on the chat, but you may if you want. The goal of this question is for you to be able to later think back to this specific film or book that you are eager to get back to, and see if the rules that I will be discussing, the rules of writing narratives, applied in this specific case. So most of us, young or old, love stories. But why? Why do we like following a plot so much? Some people say that it's because a reader lives 1,000 lives, while a person who doesn't read only lives 1. But what if the opposite was the case? What if, in fact, we aren't reading and watching innumerable stories, but the same few ones over and over again? We're on the correct slide, thanks. So this is a hypothesis that scholars have been testing for over a century now. Vladimir Prop, based on his study of Russian folk tales, made the argument that all characters that appear in stories can be classed into just 6 types. The most important and indispensable one being, of course, the hero. And next slide. According to Vladimir Prop, again, there are only 31 types of events that we encounter in hero narratives. So these 31 types of events are simply reshuffled in many ways to produce seemingly countless stories, while in fact, on a general level, we are following the very same story, rereading it and rewatching it over and over again. Next slide, please. And on a more general level, literary scholars have been able to describe a basic structure that underlies pretty much every story, every narrative. And this basic structure would be composed of just 4 points. And this is where I want you to think back to that film or show or book that I asked you about earlier, and see if it fits into this structure. So the structure is introduction, so background information about the heroes, the setting, etc. 2, body of the story, so this is where the action happens. Usually the hero goes on some sort of mission. Point 3, epic battle with evil. And then point 4, return happily ever after, or the opening of a new plot. So if this is really the case, and research, also recent research done on very large data sets using AI suggests that it is indeed the case. So these are the 4 steps that underpin most or all narratives. It would seem that we are all passionately rewatching and rereading the very same story over and over again. So why do we do it? It's because our brains are wired to love this particular story. And this is very good news for us as impact case study authors, because we can use this tendency to our advantage to showcase the heroic efforts of scholars in achieving impact. Next, oh yeah, this is the correct slide. So To this effect, I have adapted the general hero narrative structure discussed a moment ago to the requirements of the case study format under the acronym SMOG. So the structure goes: situation. S stands for situation. So that's the background, the context of your research. M is for major problem. This is the real world issue that the researchers are tackling. And in a fairy tale, this would be the dragon, right? The villain. And in research, it can be climate change, an illness, a social problem. A is the answer. So what is the solution that the heroes, here scholars, have come up with and offered? U stands for use or uptake. So how was this solution actually applied? How was it used by stakeholders in the real world? What did it change? And finally, G, going forward. So this is the hero's return. We take stock, so evaluation. Has this problem been solved once and for all? Has the dragon been slain? Or what remains to be done? So this might open a new narrative about a new piece of research, a new piece of engagement. And as you can see, this is a very, very simple structure, yet it is very effective. Why? Because, as you have seen, this is precisely the story that we as humans can't get enough of. And you might ask, if it's so simple, is it possible to get it wrong? And the answer is yes, absolutely, you can get it wrong. And in my work in reading and rereading, probably hundreds of case studies now from these 3 different national contexts, I found that there is one most frequent shortcoming in impact case studies, and that is skipping or underplaying the M element of the structure, so the major problem, the dragon. So authors of case studies are usually so wrapped up in their research, understandably so, that they forget to explain why they are doing it in the first place. So they explain to you the methodology, the challenges, in achieving the results they were looking for, but they forget to explain, okay, what's the problem? What is the thing that first inspired them to look at it? Why is it so important and pressing? Why is the dragon so scary? And the scarier the dragon, this real world problem that we want to solve with our research, the more likely we as readers are to root for the heroes and to appreciate the case study and to evaluate it highly. So with that, I will close my contribution. So happy writing, and again, don't forget about the dragon.